Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where six mates unpack three topics over a new drink each week. Fuck it, just go with that. We'll fix it if it's...
All right, welcome to the Simple Minds podcast. It's Matt Hanham here, and this is episode 18. Fellas, 18!
18.
Welcome.
Can't believe we've got through to 18.
I can't believe it. We'll start with the mentionable absence, being Mr. Justin Bourne. He's probably sitting on a plane right now. Conrad's holding a picture of him up.
He's present.
He's semi-present, if you call an
He's omnipresent.
He's omnipresent, and he's in the
Jim
room.
Carrey way of life.
I have Mr. Michael Duncan.
Hello.
Mr. Travis Hato.
Hey.
Mr. Marco Noe.
Hello.
And Mr. Swaggy C, Conrad Francis in the room.
G'day.
Three of us are drinked up. Two more are coming. I apologise. It was
I'd love to hear this explanation.
It was a leveraged opportunity that didn't quite hit the mark.
What do you mean?
Someone else is pouring the drinks and they're not all here yet. So we'll get to that shortly. However, we're drinking, what are we drinking? Margaritas.
Oh, really?
I can drink mine.
You can drink yours and we'll talk about that later. But rather than, I guess, discuss...
Can we talk about mine?
Wait, show me the tasting
I didn't know they
face.
had pineapples in margarita.
I don't think there's pineapple in what you're drinking, mate, but...
You said there was pineapples in there.
I was joking.
Oh, shit.
You said that we're drinking pineapple juice. Anyway.
You said that
For those listening, by the time you do get to listen to this, there'll be quite a lot of footage and photography, etc. online, and you'll love to see episode 18's microphone that's being used by Conrad Francis. That's all I'll say. Go and check it out. We're just taking a couple of photos right now, just to make sure we get.
it's
get
seriously
that online.
take the piss week, right?
It's it brings drinking scotch and talking podcasting, talking
I
on
reckon there's a
podcasting.
few radio guys that probably wish they had this setup right now. Alan Jones would love this setup with the. And who's the dude that had the gold mic?
John.
He would love to put a gold mic on this thing, wouldn't he?
John Laws?
John Laws, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. John Laws, look, with drinks delivery is on us. And how's the drink, guys?
So what are we drinking?
What
are we drinking?
Do we have a specific tequila or a specific...
We do,
Thank
but
you.
the bottle's not in front of us at this point, and I cannot remember.
Oh.
Marco might.
Yeah, Jose Cuervo traditional.
So this is an actual margarita.
That's it's a Tommy's margarita, actually.
Tommy's.
Don't we have there be salted rims?
Not with the Tommy's. Yeah. So Tommy's is slightly different.
And this guy doesn't. What does he like being called?
He doesn't like being called a mixologist. He prefers the word bartender.
Yeah, okay.
Is that a good tequila? Is that a goodie?
Yeah, it's tasty, especially in this drink.
Try this
really
one.
nice.
So what else do we have in here?
It's tequila, lime juice, and agave syrup.
Agave.
So agaves are the family of plants that tequila is made from, and specifically it's blue agave that you make tequila with.
Yep.
Blue agave.
And also a couple of other things like they have to be from specific regions in Mexico, Jalisco, and surrounding areas.
Which part of this mixology sort of branding are you struggling with here?
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I know a lot of experts in a lot of areas that don't quite know their stuff to that
Trust
extent.
me, most bartenders would know this.
Yep.
Yeah, most would. I was lucky enough to get put on a trip to Japan and Mexico with Suntory, who at the time owned Jose Cuervo and distributed it. And we got to go to the distillery and see the manufacturer. So the plants that you make tequila from actually take anywhere between 8 and 12 years to grow.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're massive. They're huge. They're like massive pineapples.
They're those big things in the desert, right?
Yeah.
Very strategic.
Good engagement there, Conrad.
But they're the big plants.
He's just writing a few
they're
emails. Don't
Yeah,
worry. It's okay.
No, I'm not.
Honestly, they just
social, man.
look like massive pineapples. That's the best way to describe them. They've got this big, like spears that come out the top of it, and they're called pencas.
Oh wow.
And they're actually
branches.
male-female plants.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you tell the
do.
difference? Different size pictures?
Depending on the. No, that would just be the same sex but different size.
Oh, so males don't have pictures?
Actually, the
You
female.
differentiate how you like it every life, right?
I think I can't remember which one, but one of them sprouts this really massive tree.
That would have to be the male.
I can't remember, but
It's
anyway.
like those grass trees. They've got
Yeah.
the big massive spiggers in them.
Yeah. But
You can't call them what they used to be called.
You can't.
Nice
And,
work. It's actually not a bad little drink.
It's nice.
Awesome.
So who put this, so you guys put this together?
My team put this together. Shall we say that?
Anyone playing at home, you just whack together.
That's cool.
3 parts tequila, 2 parts lime, 1 part agave syrup. Shake it up, dump it over
So we've got
ice.
shakers here and everything?
I saw it was in a protein shaker. Actually. It was real. You can also use jam jars and stuff. It's good. Just be
Something with a
creative.
lid, right?
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't
exactly.
really matter, I'm sure.
Well, you can't use Conrad then, can you? No, shut him off.
There's a lid. All morals.
Man. I think the audience is probably going to vote for not taking it easy on me at some stage.
Why?
Do we have an audience?
I don't think we have an audience still left at this
We'll ask
stage of
Marco's
this
dad next
podcast.
week.
And if we did, it'd probably be because of the sitcom-ness of this show rather than
Cheers,
anything else.
everyone.
Cheers.
Happy Friday.
Way to divert.
Well done. If anyone's still listening, we'll talk about something possibly unique, real, maybe, who knows. But on content, today we have Marco and Michael.
Yes.
Who thinks they want to go first? Mike?
It looks like I'm going to go first.
Well, delegates in, Marco.
You love your pieces of paper when you're on content,
I
don't
need
you?
my paper. I need my
Well, Justin does the same thing.
Yeah.
just to trigger any.
I'm paperless.
Actually, I probably should use my phone.
He's got a badge for that.
Well, I was trying to think about what to speak about last night.
Thinking before speaking is very important.
And as I was falling asleep, trying to think about
This is clearly very high on your agenda.
it. Yeah, it was. I was struggling. I was trying to really come up with something deep and meaningful. But because I was falling asleep, I was thinking dreams, okay? I'm big into my dreams. I'm a really, really vivid dreamer. Like I do this sometimes when I go to sleep, is picture the areas that I've had dreams in, and these are recurring places. I mean, these are I could build a map out of these places, like rocks and mountains and casinos and all sorts of really weird and wonderful places. And dreams to me,
Sounds like Vegas, but
it does sound a bit like
It's
not always the same place, but
Right.
I have very, very vivid dreams, and most mornings I wake up and remember quite deeply the dreams I've had. But it's a practice. You really got to, like, when you wake up, you got to think about it straight away and try and get yourself there. Because everybody does dream, but some people don't remember them at all. I don't know out of you guys if you're strong dreamers or you don't remember
I'm living
them at
my
all.
dream right now, buddy.
Well, exactly. This is the point.
I go through phases.
Yeah.
I
I
actually
do.
notice that sometimes I just think I have no dreams, and then
Yep.
go through phases where I really remember them.
Yeah, and it's, to me, sort of thinking about dreams, what is why do they exist? Like from an evolutionary point of view, why is it helping us or not helping us? And just trying to think about what different
Which part do you
traditions.
get in the Freudian part?
Well, Carl Jung,
Okay.
Freud, these guys, and I've got Carl Jung talks about dreams being messages to bring your life back into kind of equilibrium. So it's your psyche trying
Yep.
to tell you something,
Yep.
pretty much.
That's the general consensus through all
Native
psychology.
Americans are the same. They talk about it as a message, as a vision of what you should be doing.
Visions are interesting because I think from historical basis, and particularly if you want to take the religious referencing on these things, the visions that I believe that they reference, and a lot what you're talking about, dream states, lucid dream states.
Yes, yeah, and lucid dreaming is something I've been interested in. I've chatted to a couple of you guys about it before, where you're able to become conscious in your dream and know that you are actually dreaming. So actually be able to look around, do actions. I mean, Tim Ferriss has talked about this in some of his podcasts, and he's practiced it and talked about it quite a bit. And it is, I mean, it's a powerful thing. People have been able to learn things in their dreams,
Yeah.
languages, skills, and actually And people can obviously do other things in their dreams as well. So it opens up a whole new part of life. And I think people that maybe don't think and try and harness their dreams maybe aren't living their kind of whole life to the full, I don't think. Because I think it's such an important part. I mean, the difference between the dream state, say, that we're in now, which is the body and mind, plus the psyche, is it's all the same thing. Like, dream's just perception. It's just electrical currents pulsing in your head, showing you things, and that's exactly what's happening to us just now. It's just your body receiving light, images, all the different senses. So I just think it's a very very powerful thing to think about and to try and dig deeper into if you don't do it. Really try and like wake up, and this is how you get into lucid dreaming. You can there are practices involved to kind of try and make that situation happen, and it's things like waking during the night. If you wake from a dream, is to write it down, get that dream onto paper, and then sort of refer back to it, like journaling, so dream journaling. Because I mean, there's a couple of times in my dreams. Once when I was a kid, I remember so vividly flying down the street near my house, like literally, and I was like looking around going, what's going on? This is really weird. And I was able to control it. I was able to control the height. And ever since then, I've wanted to try and get back to that place.
It's crazy because I've spent some time with this stuff earlier this year from the dream states, and you talk about the words were that I was taught were apprehending your dream, and that anything you're trying to create comes from a dream state. However, your dreams speak to you. It speaks to you in symbols, and the steps that I was taught to go through to interpret your dreams were to allow yourself to accept your dream. So be in that playful, creative state, your state of innocence.
Creativity is a big part of it.
Then to take it further, it's observing the obvious and then making it up. Now, those three steps in that order allows you to tell the story of what your dream means to you and extrapolate the thoughts into words or the vision that you can understand in today's state.
Because dreams are crazy. Dreams are things that you can't.
Do you say crazy? I say dreams. I reckon dreams are what guide you. You look at all the greatest things on this planet; they all come from dreams.
Exactly. I've actually got a reference here to some things that were created through dreaming.
Everything has come from an imagination, right? Imagination is a state of dream. It's allowing yourself to tell yourself the story as opposed to holding it back. Now, when I say symbology, death doesn't mean death in a dream, but to you, death might mean something. To me, death means something different. It's like you and I going to the Louvre and looking at a piece of art, and you having a different experience to me because of who you are and your experience in life.
Definitely. I think nobody has the same experience.
So the trap is when we start talking about dream states, is sometimes we can impose what the symbol means to us, and that might impact somebody else's understanding of their dream. But the truth is, what it means to you is what it means to you. And so when we say making it up, then it doesn't mean just make it up.
Well, here's an example. Like seemingly, Google, the idea behind Google, Larry Page, was created through dreams. Tesla's alternating current was through a dream state. James Watson's double helix for DNA, the sewing machine. So there you go. And the periodic table, so just to name a few. And I mean, altered perception, be it through psychedelics, whatever. Steve Jobs.
Well, they talk about Jobs and psychedelics.
The
reason why the original
a lot of the biggest inventions, the biggest breaking ideas have come from some form of kind of altered perception, which a dream is.
Well, they talk about, I don't know whether you guys, some of you guys are probably too young, but there was Michael and I aren't, Fantasia by Walt Disney. They reckon that was one of the biggest productions that Walt Disney put on at the time, Disney put on at the time. They reckon that was done on acid. And when I saw it as however old young kid I was, and you see pink elephants dancing in freaking tutus, I'm thinking, what the hell does that mean?
Have you watched any children's cartoons? I'm pretty sure everyone though.
No, but if you watch Fantasia, even if you watch it now, you'll see in the time it was released, mate, someone was on something. Someone was on something.
Because I mean, from a creative perspective, Travis, you're a creative guy. You're working in photography. Are you a dreamer? Because I think creativity and dreams, I think there's an integral link between you remembering and being active in dreams and creativity.
Yeah, like Marco, I go through ebbs and flows with dreaming of a nighttime, but it's funny how much I dream throughout the day, if that makes sense. Like, bad example, but when you're driving and you get somewhere and you have no idea
What's taken so short time?
or
how you got there.
It's an altered state, isn't it?
Yeah, I find myself getting into those sort of areas, and especially so my background's photography, and if I shoot every day, I'll find that I'll have less of those. Just in the last 2 weeks, I haven't shot every day, and I've had a bit of time. My creativity comes back in ebbs and comes rushing back, and I have more of those sort of dreaming states. Marco and I were following each other today. And I could tell you I was in that sort of creative space.
Slowly,
in that.
And that's probably certain parts of your brain are probably kind of shut down a little bit, and the other parts have kind of fired up.
But it helps that we just were photographing for the last hour and a half prior to that too. So we were activating that part of our brain in that creative state. So definitely I think that certainly helps me to get there a lot quicker. And I think, I access that unknowingly a lot of the time now because it's such a habit.
What's it look like? When you realised you then, so you were driving and then you realised that it's like you came to, but what were you thinking about or what were you dreaming about, or you just didn't,
Sometimes
you don't even know?
You don't know.
Oh, okay.
Literally I'll drive for say 45 minutes and I wouldn't be able to retrace my steps in my head.
Oh, right.
You just in autopilot.
So it's not so much distraction, it's kind of a calm.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because I thought I would
have trees for a living.
That's when you're as zen as Hato.
I don't think I'm anywhere near as zen as Hato, and I have a similar type of experience. I tend to do that a lot. My question I was going to ask was, if anyone knows or can have a guess at it, like, what's the difference between that imagination, more daydreaming type approach, which I tend to think I do a lot of, versus the you're asleep. Like, can you bring, a dream or, that, and can you remember that thereafter? Like, you're talking about techniques, Mike, around, very quickly sitting down, thinking about it, trying to remember. And I've been through situations, I've done that before, where I'm like, okay, I was dreaming, I've come out of a dream, I've woken up, and I'm like, can I think about it? And it's not quite there, and then I've been able to catch it and bring some of the memory back in. But likewise, I think I tend to do a lot of that sort of daydreaming, sometimes deliberately, sometimes it just happens. Like, certainly driving is one example of where I'm off in another planet, where I get asked constantly by my wife Tash, like, where are you right now? I'm like off dreaming, thinking of doing something different. What's the difference?
Trav dreams really, really well on the basketball court too.
Absolutely.
He doesn't know how he gets to the end of the games.
Well, sometimes I just open my eyes and it's the end of the game and bang.
You've scored 40 points.
Dreaming.
But on the actual stat sheet, 14 turnovers. Anyway, sorry.
The Buddhist view of dreams, which is maybe talks about during the day and at night, the difference between them is our dreams at night are mostly related only to the mind. So it's just mind activity, obviously. While the dream we're experiencing right now includes our body and our speech.
But do you think is that similar when you go and do an immersion like the float tanks?
Yep.
When you're taking all your sensory data, the information away.
Altered state.
That would have to be similar to being asleep, right?
Yep.
So you're saying like sleeping's more your subconscious, and then when you're dreaming during the day, it's more your conscious.
No, subconscious.
Well, you're interacting with body and mind.
Yeah. It's your higher conscious.
Yeah.
Whereas at night, obviously, everything else is shut down. It's really just this one bit of concentration in your brain.
So when you talk about Freud, and Freud talks about the three levels of ego, the superego, the ID, and the ego state, they sit behind your subconscious. And those things are driving your subconscious.
Yeah.
So when you take away your senses, i.e. through sleep or through a sleep chamber type scenario, you're going past your subconscious.
Yeah, well, this is a Carl Jung quote, and he was a psychoanalyst from the late 1800s, and I think Freud came under him, and Nietzsche actually was one of his pupils as well. It is on the whole probably that we continually dream all the time. but that consciousness makes such a noise that we do not hear it. So that sort of dream state is, well, life is a dream if you look at it that way. The Alan Watts type of Zen, everything is everything.
Because it comes from your subconscious, right? And your subconscious, when you talk about imagination, I'm of the opinion that's where that type of dreaming comes from.
Creativity, you know, people that can harness that creativity in a waking state are more in a dreamlike state than somebody that is just, the noise is just completely filtered everything else out.
Yep. It's cool, but I mean, like I said, I'm playing with a lot of that at the moment since early this year, and I'm going to LA shortly to do some more work on that stuff.
Okay. Are you meeting up with
William? Yeah, they're doing another 5 days with him. But yeah, another
William,
progression.
the author of
William Whitecliffe, the author of The Magician's Way.
Oh, cool.
And to go through in more detail that dream
I just
stuff.
think it's such, I mean, we sleep half of our life, or probably maybe a third of our life.
Of course you don't.
Marco's going to be down there too.
Conrad sleeps a third of his night.
As a general rule, we spend a lot of time sleeping, so being able to harness that, I think.
Question then, when you're sleep dreaming, do you think it's your dreams are based off your values and beliefs, or do you reckon it's like it opens the floodgates and it goes, what could this be?
No, it's way beyond that.
Values and beliefs are kind of your waking.
That's part of your filtering system, right?
Yeah, but it's
much deeper.
It's deep inside of you, like it creates your being at the end of the day.
Sure, but this is what I'm saying to you. So observe what's obvious and then make the rest up. Don't actually allow yourself to filter. And the way I've gone through learning that is just to write and write and write and write without being filtered. Making it up just gives you the opportunity to observe clearer.
So why do you sleep dream about some seriously wacky stuff?
Well, because how it's coming out to you, it's a symbology in the way it's coming out to you.
Yeah. So
it's actually not coming out to you as wacky as what you translate it to be eventually.
And I think people don't see our normal life as wacky, because it is like normal. But what we're doing right now, if you look at it, is
If you look at this setup,
actually Conrad's setup.
That's going to make me wacky by the end of it.
Being more dreamlike during the day will increase creativity.
It's creativity. So you say wacky, I say creative, right?
Yeah.
It's going to drop the foundations of your normal channels of thinking, and give you the opportunity to think without those filters.
Yeah.
What about you mentioned death before, and that's something that I can't quite. This morning, Mike, as you said, I woke up having just sort of half a glimmer of a dream. I didn't put the time into it, but I grabbed at it a little bit, and I do recall someone dying. And you bring up death, and you talk about how it means different things to different people. I mean, that might be an interesting, something to talk about. Or,
the death of an idea, the death of something.
Yeah, well, exactly. It doesn't have to necessarily mean what death means. But then that happened to me this morning. I mean, you've obviously got some more context on that. Why don't you bring that in?
Because what it means to you is what it means to you. All right. So whatever death means to me in the context of the dream that it comes to me in is what I need to connect with and what I need to talk about. So, and the thing is, it might mean something to you today. It could be very different for you tomorrow, because it's all about how you interpret your dream. Okay, so if you and I talked this morning, you talked to me about this dream, I would have gone through a process with you that would allow you to tell me, without symbology, what that meant.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I can do it.
No, we don't have to.
I can do it with you whenever. I mean, I would love to do it with you guys, because I think, honestly, if this stuff's really, really crazy, because we talk about psychedelics putting you in a state where you can find this shit out, at least put yourself in that state. The interpretation of that is really, really important, because it is a message. I believe it's a message from your highest self at its purest form. And so if you can translate that...
So that's no body, and that is death, maybe. Without the body, that higher consciousness is...
And so when you're able to translate that into what it means to you, then it has purpose and it can drive you. When it drives you, it's going to drive you towards that highest vision of yourself that you're trying to create. Everything else is limited and filtered.
Yep.
So I'm keen. I can do it with you guys whenever you want.
Lucid dreaming is a trip, man. It's like...
Yeah, I've done it.
I did it a few months back, and I remember just suddenly being at the top of a mountain looking down and going, I'm now conscious and I can fly, and I jumped off and I was able to control every part of it, go up, go down.
Well,
Did you learn anything from that? Because I think Jason had a similar experience recently.
You can learn from everything.
No, this was when I was dreaming at night. This is through an actual lucid dream.
Right.
As I said, when I was young, it happened, and I remember it so vividly, and I've always wanted to try and recreate that. And then I listened to Tim Ferriss, and he got me back onto it, and I started doing the practicing and stuff like that. And it happened again a few months ago, and it is just the trippiest thing where you can see yourself in the dream and stop and sort of...
Well, I used a Hindi technique to separate myself through meditation once. And I think I might have told some of you guys about this, but it's real kooky. And these guys think I'm on something when I'm telling you this stuff. But in envisioning my spirit state, communicating with another person's spirit state, and healing them through that lucid dream. And this person didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. They were on the other side of Australia. And when we eventually talked about it, that what I was healing in them, they were actually feeling on the other side.
You're a kook.
I think this is the wrong podcast for you.
I got a funny story actually about dreaming. It probably happened about a month ago, maybe a month and a half. You know how when you're falling asleep, you're in that sort
We're not talking about wet dreams here, Travis.
No, not them. But you know how like you're falling asleep and you're in that sort of phase, and then something will jolt you and wake you up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was in that state, and I woke up, and I jumped almost out of the bed, and I turned over, and Ashby goes, "Are you all right?" Ashby's my wife, and I said, "Oh, I got hit in the head with a basketball," and it woke me up. Right? Yeah. So I went to sleep. Didn't think about anything of it. And in
his window was open. I threw it through the window.
It's creepy.
Anyway, about 3 or 4 nights later, I was just laying in bed, and Ashby was going to sleep, and she was falling asleep before me, and she jumped up like, she was in that lucid state sort of thing, and I said, "You all right?" She goes, "Yeah, I hit in the head with a ball." No joke.
Get rid of that ball, man.
Yeah.
It's Winston taking the piss out of you too.
Conrad's back, yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was funny that
That's cookie.
that it kind of not either translated, or if I hadn't have told her about like me waking up to it, did it plant the seed, and then eventually like when she was in next opportunity for her to like, kind of go through that.
Or had Conrad come back.
Yeah.
Throw the ball.
Are there any last minute things that you do just before going to bed that can help you dream better? Whatever better dreaming is, because at the moment I'm finding I'm having I'm not getting much sleep, full stop, but then I'm having real poor quality sleep because I'm editing till really late, and I feel like I don't get any deep sleep because honestly I continually wake up and all I'm thinking about are different shots that I've been editing for the last few hours, or I'm thinking about just like it's like might be 4 hours of just push-pulling this one shot, and it's just my sleep's really poor at the moment. So do you do anything just before?
I think some sort of sleep meditation would be good for that.
It's different. It's different to wanting to dream, right? Like but
hey, I might be able to steal some.
But you won't be dreaming just now because you're number one, your mind's very active. And you're not getting into that REM, which is when you do. Most dreams occur quite early in the morning, like sort of between 3 and 5 in the morning, when you get into that ultra deep sleep before you wake.
But I think it's permission, though, man. It was the same thing when you started meditating, right? And you were saying how your meditations weren't feeling great, because you were comparing it or expecting something, right? So if your sleep patterns are changing, which they clearly are, understanding that you need to let go of what it was to allow it to become what it needs to be. That's a big thing.
Nice. Yeah, that's real good.
And so giving yourself permission to enjoy what you have.
Yeah.
And maybe you can get some of those blue light glasses for the last couple of hours to just try and
blue.
They're like $10. They've got like an orange, like a yellow filter on them. They just cut some of the blue light off the screens. And that might help you towards the end.
Some of your videos might look a bit weird.
Yeah, I think you can set your screen to do stuff like that.
Yeah, you might be able to.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's just massive. It's giving yourself permission to reprogram yourself because you're ready to receive good quality 8-hour sleep and you're not giving yourself that, so therefore you're in conflict with yourself.
Yeah. Cool.
It's a real cool topic, man.
Oh, good.
Psychedelic. Bruh.
That's it. Street
Another
Lake.
bra. Marco.
On to me.
Number 2.
Cool. I'm going to try something slightly different today, which is going to be everyone's going to share something first, then we're going to listen to something, and then we're just literally going to reflect on what you just shared, having just heard what we've heard. So I asked you guys going into today's podcast to have a think about something you're struggling with, and I was going for deep because I wanted to give more value to the people that listen, but actually having reflected on what I'm about to play to you guys, it doesn't matter. So just tell me, anything you might be struggling with. So for example, I often struggle with, so the one that will be applicable is I often struggle with coming up with something that I feel is going to be good to table at this podcast, right? Now we'll listen. So that's mine. Does anyone feel like sharing something that they're struggling with?
Yep.
Go for it.
I'm struggling, and I've probably struggled more over the last few months than I ever have with why will I stay in business?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Good.
Wow, very succinct. I'll lead on from that actually, because it's kind of somewhat interesting. So I'm struggling with the concept. Look, we've owned our own home for a lot of years. We've sold one last year, and we're in a property that's not our own. And it's a really interesting mindset and space and around external perception. And one thing I'm struggling with at the moment is investing and looking towards investing money into other things versus moving or heading towards buying our own home again, which Conrad's probably got plenty of comments on as well. But it's a weird what I believe versus what external factors are looking in and other people around. And that's something that's been on my mind more as a vision thing rather than a decision that I'm looking to make like right this moment.
So there's partly vision.
It's probably like it's not a decision that I have to make right now, but it's a decision that I have to make so I can set work towards what I want, not just hedge. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do going forward.
Okay, cool. Mike?
Not really struggling, but I've got a mental struggle in regards to I've been wanting to give up alcohol, at least for an extended period of time, say a year.
Yeah.
I've done Dry July for the last 3 years, and I always feel...
You're off the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Fridays are...
Soda and lime.
Yeah, exactly. And I know how good I feel at the end of that month, and I know that it is a challenge, and I quite like that challenge of sort of being able to... alcohol is such a part of Western culture, especially Aussie culture and British culture, which I come from.
I think any culture, man.
Oh, definitely. Substances are involved, as you said, throughout every culture. But
they're just different types.
I think alcohol is quite it's not that good for you, really. In moderation, it's probably neither here nor there. But I think I just like to challenge myself. So I'm struggling with
it's more
taking the plunge.
Taking the plunge, yeah. And
really,
and it's a bit like the ego thing with the house and stuff like that. It's like
you're not
people
worried about
think
missing out, right? You're worried about the social experiences that are just going to be a little. You don't really care about.
I also
the consumption of it.
Yeah, when I think about giving up booze, I also struggle with. It's more about what my friends are gonna they all struggle with it.
People think you're weird or whatever. Yeah,
and they're gonna want you to drink or whatever. So
that shows how ingrained, isn't it, in society? It is. So I want as a challenge to myself.
Cool.
I would love to be able to do that, but I've been failing to do that. As I said, I've done Dry July, but I think I want to try. So I've struggled with that going on. Like, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it?
So Mike, yours is giving up booze. Hato?
Shaving his man bun off.
I haven't seen it for ages.
My hair's down. Anyway, something that I do very well at times, and then I don't do very well at times. So I could probably say I struggle with it. Is allowing myself not to be in control.
Oh.
So my personality and the way I am, I love to be in control of every situation I'm in, and obviously relationships and stuff like that is a big thing. And yeah, that's probably something that I do struggle with majorly in life, that I find that I'm always revisiting.
And newly married, so sort of topical for the situation you are now in.
And to be honest, that's probably my biggest test from day to day, is allowing, you know, Ashby, not trying to control Ashby. You know, that's my kind of measuring stick that I use.
So the struggle suggests that you want to try and give off or give away some control. Is that right?
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Actually really want to.
Yeah. I don't personally want to be in control all the time, because I think it's unhealthy for myself. So I work really hard at relinquishing control and allowing other people to not make decisions for me or anything like that, but in the situations that I'm in, you know, just being and enjoying and, you know, so that sort of stuff, rather than always having to just do it or make the decision.
Okay, I'll be interested to see what you get from what I'm about to play with that one.
Yeah.
And
We're only allowed to bring one, right?
well, I was just going to throw.
Conrad's got his list
Well, you can. I'm going to throw one more in the mix, which is I'm going to be quitting my job within the next sort of 3 to 5 months, and I want to go to London to understudy a few people in videography. And what I was struggling with was, well, there's an event in November which kicked me off last year in videography, and I'd really like to cover that again. So I was like, oh, but I might miss that.
That's the ego, man.
Good. Okay. So again, that's something that I've been struggling with, and after having listened to what we're about to listen to, which we'll play now, unless you want to share something else. It's a lot easier to make my decision.
Well, clearly, I mean, what I've been sticking with since I think you brought up that topic about those points of stoicism.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And what stuck with me a lot was my opinions.
No, really? Would not have guessed that.
And I'm talking about this a lot to a lot of people. But I mean, you guys would see even here, right? I mean, I have an opinion just about fucking everything, and it probably annoys me at times, and I almost bite my lip off at times trying not to say something.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. All right. Password's Nintendo 64.
That's good. We'll edit that out.
I've got one of those.
That doesn't matter, man.
You want a Nintendo 64?
I've actually been trying to find mine.
I've got listen to the podcast. PlayStations and some of the Nintendos.
What's the definition of struggling, Marco? Like, what do you think, from a human perspective? What,
Man,
what do you see as?
Well, it might just. Actually, let's dive into this, and then we can talk about struggle. This is a clip. Wait. This is a clip from a movie that I just rewatched recently, called Birdman.
Oh.
Has anyone seen it? Yeah.
That's a continuous one, hey?
Yeah, it looks. Yeah.
Lots of
And
struggle
I rewatched it because I was interested in all of the cinematography aspects of that movie. It's really beautiful.
Very interesting.
And it's quite technically complex, but I listened to this section and I was just, learned heaps from it. The context on the movie is, if anyone's not seen it, it's essentially an actor running a Broadway play. He's acting and directing in it. He used to be a megastar in a movie called Birdman, which grossed billions of dollars, and he used to be a really world famous actor, and he's kind of lost his relevance in the world, and this is his way of kind of salvaging his legacy on Broadway. So that's the movie, and this is him interacting with his daughter. So, you want to kick it off?
This is my chance to finally do some work that actually means something.
It means something to who? You had a career, Dad, before the third comic book movie. Before people started to forget who was inside that bird costume. You were doing a play based on a book that was written 60 years ago for 1,000 rich old white people whose only real concern is going to be where they go to have their cake and coffee when it's over. Nobody gives a shit but you. And let's face it, Dad, you are not doing this for the sake of art. You are doing this because you want to feel relevant again. Well, guess what? There's an entire world out there where people fight to be relevant every single day, and you act like it doesn't exist. Things are happening in a place that you ignore, a place that, by the way, has already forgotten about you. I mean, who the fuck are you? You hate bloggers, you mock Twitter, you don't even have a Facebook page. You're the one who doesn't exist. You're doing this because you're scared to death, like the rest of us, that you don't matter. And you know what? You're right. You don't. It's not important, okay? You're not important. Get used to it.
That's it.
Wow.
Stop there. There's more in this.
No, stop it there. It's just tense visuals.
Yeah.
I should have let the silence sit in the podcast a little longer as well. But I actually found that pretty alleviating and uplifting when I heard it, because I was like, holy shit, it just nothing matters.
Yeah.
And the main thing was, no one gives a fuck.
Yeah. You're struggling like the rest of us. Like that bit that she said was like...
Yeah, but it just simplifies it. Like, it doesn't matter. Pick something and go.
Yep.
Oh, why did I do my interpretation first? I shouldn't have jumped in there. But that's what I got from it. And I'd be keen to hear on the things that you guys shared. How do you then think about them having just heard that?
Again, trying not to give my opinion, but just my interpretation. I think we talked about earlier vision, right? I mean, when I talk about business for me, and the challenges I've faced, and how it felt, and why it gets hard and gets harder, that's why I question why I continue to keep doing it. You know, where's the enjoyment? But when I come back to, you know, you're right, no one's really going to give a shit either way, whether I stay or whether I go. So then it becomes, well, why do I bother hanging around? Because there's enough reasons to give up on anything, right? And it just comes back to why I would get up and why I continue doing what I do, because I believe what I'm doing has some meaning to somebody, my team and my clients, and it fulfills my desire to leave an impact at some level. Now, mate, you're dead and gone, and how long that level or those people remain remembering you for, I don't freaking know. I don't know. But I guess for me, it's purpose, it's value. It's hard. It is hard. You know, why do you get up and deal with the issues you deal with in business? You know, we've talked about it.
We have.
There's more reasons. There's more reasons to give it up than there is to hang around. You've just got, but that one thing that keeps you coming back is what I've got to keep coming back to. And when that disappears, I guess that's when I'm done.
But that's the internal struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a battle.
As you said, like, from that audio, like, nobody cares. Nobody's going to lose sleep over it.
No, on the decision they won't. But on the reasons why you hang around, you know, you got to believe there's purpose to continue to do that. As you were talking about whether you would hang around or whether you would go, there would be a reason why you hang around, and the reason why you hang around is fine. The reason why you go is fine. But I think what it gets to the point of no one gives a shit. Just make a decision.
Yeah.
So I think Mike's one is probably the most potentially externally focused in terms of what socially people think. Maddie, your vision may
Sort
be
of similar.
people's perception of the assets you own, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'd be keen to start with maybe Mike and then go to you.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, why can't I just do it? Is what you're saying. The struggles with me is in my head, isn't it? It's easy to use an excuse of external pressure to make the decision easier for me to not do it. But when it comes down to it, it's that subtle art of not giving a fuck. Yeah, do it. If that is something you really want to do, just do it.
Well, you're not really that serious about doing it if you're second guessing yourself, because you look at it at a business point of situation, and if it needs to be done, like, we go and do it, you go and do it. But if it's something that you're second guessing, then it's sort of like, is it really what you want?
The why is the big one, right? Why, if you're not going to be projected by or moved by your why.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm doing it more for an ego thing. I stopped drinking for a year, like pat in the back, that sort of thing.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Just be honest, you can give up anything you want.
But I do know from perspective that it would be, from a health perspective, a good thing, definitely. But at my age especially, like,
but you're not unhealthy though, are you?
Not unhealthy, no.
So then the motive, even though it almost feels like you're trying to
weighing, isn't it?
fit into something.
Because our target's average, right? Our target is average.
Who said that?
For the whole population. The target.
Average is a calculation.
Exactly, but the target is average because we generally move as a complete group of people at whatever level of community we want to talk about, and the net score is average. Some will push to one extent, some will push to the other end. The net score is actually a middle ground, very much like a middle belt of average.
So I'm not targeting average.
Wait. But
No, you're not targeting average.
Before we degenerate here, because Conrad, I can see you going a million miles an hour. Maybe I ask the question, does anyone think differently about what they were struggling with after having heard that? Because I applied it to a couple of things and was like much more readily able to make the decision.
Yeah.
Did that come for anyone? Or?
Yeah, I think that puts the focus more on, is it more of a struggle with you rather than the external part of it? It's an internal thing.
Yeah. I think it's clarified for me.
It's strong.
Because another thing that I found interesting was, a few podcasts ago, I said that I was very committed to making everything about wanting to do it for myself, and going into a bit of literature about, well, you should always do something for something greater than yourself. I was conflicted there because I'd come to the conclusion that I only wanted to do things for me. But I think it still agrees, because as long as you're doing it for yourself and you don't care what other people think, you really just believe it in yourself, it ties with this, because it's just like, no one cares. You just do it because you want to do it.
Yeah.
And when you put it that simply, I find it really powerful.
Yep.
I completely agree. That didn't move me. It moved me. It didn't change my thinking, because for at least, probably for a long time, but with real focus in the last few months at least, I've noticed that that's what I've just been thinking more and more. And I found this really interesting sort of catch-22, that the more I can just say, fuck it, it just makes no difference, the more confidence I'm attacking the things, not hedging bets. I'm just going and doing it more and more. And I feel like it's a progression that I've made, over probably 10 years, in some ways, but I've been acutely aware of that a lot. That no one cares. And when I'm talking about creating content, or when I'm talking about whatever, someone only cares for that 2 seconds. And so when I float back into, I guess, some examples, the house thing is an example. So when we sold our house last year, everyone's like, what are you doing? It's like, well, we're doing it for this, this and that. They're like, that's crazy. Cool. So we did it. And then everyone shuts up immediately, because it's only important when there's something to discuss at that particular point in time before you've made a decision and gone to do it. No different to you leaving your job. Some will be supportive of not understanding you and we want you to go do this, but many others will be like, are you crazy, Marco? You're an engineer, you've got a great job. Like, what are you doing leaving that place? Because that's just their programming. So for me, that I've found it something that I've been really focused on more and more lately. It just doesn't matter. I just need to care so much less about what other people might, how they might perceive me, what they might say, and that's so much of it. And then how far wrong I go, they'll forget tomorrow. Just get past it. Get over yourself. I crave a bit more negative feedback rather than trying to, I guess, hide from it or just always achieve in another direction to not get it.
Just give me a call, mate. I'm only a phone call away.
Ghostbusters.
Right. I was interested to see what you thought of it. Still am interested.
He's been dreaming for the last time.
Yeah, so does I go.
Did you see his head move?
That's interesting, because it's not that I believe in that very strongly. I do. I believe in doing it for yourself. And reiterating the point about the control thing, I don't believe that's for other people. That's for the way I want to be. And I'm a strong energy person, and I believe in always giving good energy and energy to other people. Another thing that comes down to the control thing is that if I leave a situation that I don't like, I ask myself, say if that person died tomorrow, would I be 100% happy with myself not the other person. Am I 100% happy with myself on how I've left that situation? If the answer is no, then I go and change it. And a lot of times when the answer is no, it's because I've over-controlled, or I felt like I've over-controlled, or I've done something like that. So I would say that stems a lot into it, but it definitely just reiterates the point that it's, you're such a small part on history and the universe and the galaxy and aliens, just joking, that, sometimes it just doesn't matter.
I'd like to be from Pluto. No, but I think that last statement that she
Uranus.
Sorry, actually, Pluto's not even part of our solar system anymore.
Wasn't I went to school?
It's not even a planet. A lot of things have changed since you went to school, Conrad.
On you go, Conrad, will you?
The last one she said, like, no one, which means it reflects it back onto you.
Yeah.
You're using that other people care. You're using that frame. Oh, I have to do it because of that.
Yeah, part of the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah, it's the story you're telling yourself, because that's what they'll say. But it's not about them, it's about what you'll say about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that legacy thing, right? It's how you would like to be remembered. Who really gives a fuck?
Exactly. So stuff like and maybe it's more applicable to small decisions like me wanting to hang around to cover that race at the end of the year again. No one's going to care. No one will notice.
No, but you'll feel good, right?
I'll feel good doing it, but it honestly made one of the big components of that decision fade away in half a second. Being like, no one will care. And genuinely
so where have you processed that then?
What do you mean?
Where does that sit with you now then?
It's no longer a factor to stay.
Yeah, okay. So if you stay, you stay. If you go, you go.
How do you mean?
So you're not staying for that, but you're not going. You're not going either. You haven't finalised those dates yet.
No, that's not finalised. But it was definitely one of the reasons I put the handbrakes on it. Yeah.
But that's so. When we talk about ego, procrastination is one sign that the ego is driving the decision. Collaboration, procrastination, all those handbrakey, stoppy things. And so when I see or hear that type of stuff, immediately I know that limiting belief is in play, or when that limiting belief pattern is in play, the ego is in play. Which means, what's the alternate state?
Dreaming.
True. Yeah, you're right. Creative state. It's in your soul state.
Not in the solar system.
So what feeds the dream, right? So that's the answer. If that feeds your dream, if that's part of your dream, then hang around.
It's funny, as a kid, my mum used to always, my parents were actually, it was interesting, reflecting back on my upbringing now, it's because my parents empowered me to make a lot of big decisions in my life from a very young age. And the way they did that was, if I would go to them and ask them, what should I do? They would never give me the decision. They would say, all right, go write the pros and cons. And eventually, after I wrote all the pros and cons, and you look at the worst case scenario of what you're actually deciding, it becomes very clear and apparent.
You still do that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But it's something that I've kind of ingrained in for myself from a young age. And you look at the pros and cons of you missing that event. There's not many. There's not many cons.
It's so wrong, but isn't it? In a lot of ways, you're consciously wrong.
There is no right and wrong.
No. But I'm saying wrong. Okay, consciously you're trying to tell yourself one thing, but there's a few things in that con side, right?
Yeah.
Then you sit down, you write everything down, you're like, wow, that's not what I was consciously thinking, but you did know it. Yeah, of course, it's ego. It's funny how you're so far on the other side of the
I think
page.
what this perspective though would do is drop a lot of things out from that list. Because if you looked at the list on either side, I would guarantee that if you didn't give it much thought, at least 50% on either side would be things of what other people think or other influences from outside, not really just what comes from you and within you. So I think it's a complementing technique at least, just sharpen that process up.
Vision or beliefs.
Good bit of acting though as well. Emma
Who's the
Stone.
actor?
Good movie.
Emma Stone, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really, really good.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This margarita has landed.
The margarita has landed.
It's actually grown on me.
It's grown.
That's the cactus.
It is a
Yeah,
bit of a
the-
sweet number. Yeah. The agave is not a cactus. It's from the lily family.
Lily.
Just hitting on
did you,
this.
yeah.
Is that
Do you think you have enough At what point is your ego telling you that you cannot be a mixologist?
It's I don't know what's a wanky name for a social media strategist, or is that a wanky?
Just exactly that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
So do you call yourself a
I'm a
social
guru.
media
I am not your
strategist?
guru.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. So, okay.
Humility.
Tony
Humility.
Robbins is in Australia at the end of the year, if anybody wants to.
No, I'm going to go see him in Florida. That's my goal.
At his house.
Knock on his door.
Yeah, I'm sure no one's tried that before.
Did you order this pizza?
Taxi! Taxi's here for you.
Who wouldn't take a free pizza?
Tony Robbins.
Can I borrow some brown sugar?
Doesn't he just eat fish and salad?
No, didn't you get poisoned?
Fish,
Yeah.
fish
He did. He
pizza.
got mercury poisoning.
Yeah.
Fish pizza.
Which, how the hell did we end up in
Yeah, how did we get
mercury
there?
poisoning?
Somebody said something over
Yeah,
here.
I know.
It was
Yeah,
Conrad.
I'm just trying to bring it back.
I blame Conrad.
Talking about pizza, man.
Oh, let's wrap it up. Yeah, look, interesting episode, guys.
I feel like the tone was like much more subdued because we've got headphones
It's
on.
the headphones.
Yeah.
The tone. Well, I wonder how. Yeah, I'd be really looking forward to hearing it. You know, obviously externally.
Well, the last one we did with headphones as well.
Yeah, but I haven't listened to that.
Yeah, you guys weren't here.
And I wasn't
It
here.
was the awesome foursome.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was the awesome foursome.
That's
That's what we call ours when you're not here. But no, look, thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Justin, noticeably absent. The smooth tones of Justin Bourne.
Has anyone
So-
been
Not-
keeping up the champagne?
Not available.
Yeah.
And to end it, we'll just have to say
Champagne.
Bye.